In today's video, you'll witness the first ever sighting of the Russian Yeti, a demonic creature that was unexpectedly devoured by a group of crows, and towards the end of the video, you'll also witness a crab-like humanoid creature that almost killed a group of youngsters that had gone camping. Please note that this video contains disturbing content and is not recommended for viewing alone or in dark, eerie places. You have been warned. We start off today with something that's not exactly paranormal, but rather unusual. Have you ever seen a deer stand on its hind legs while observing them? Keep in mind that this isn't a circus or anything, it's in the wild. For me, beyond the incessant need to say awe, I feel surprised and very curious. Is it unique to that deer alone, or is it something that other deer do as well? I felt all of these things. I did some research, and it turns out that deer stand on their hind legs when they're in distress or trying to assert dominance. Looking at this video, I'm quite sure that the buck isn't in distress, it's definitely trying to assert dominance. One thing I love about trail cam videos is that we learn something new every day. Imagine stepping into your favorite restaurant to have your favorite meal and someone comes up from nowhere trying to kidnap or kill you. No matter who you are, that's sure to leave you traumatized for life. And that's exactly what happened to this little birdie that we see in this footage. It had gone to its favorite bird feeder hoping to get something to eat, only to be violently interrupted by that raptor. Thanks to the positioning of the bird feeder, it was not taken. Looking at the footage, though, I don't think that's the raptor's first time doing something like this. And the reaction of the squirrels in the background does prove this. As you set up bird feeders for your birdies, do put in measures to protect them, else you'll be setting them up for an all-you-can-eat buffet for birds of prey. The owner of this trail cam set it up, hoping to capture some of the wildlife that roams the area. What he saw was so wild that it made him question life, and this is no exaggeration. What do you do when the trail cam just outside your camp captures a man with a glowing aura who seemingly disappears while walking through? If you're tempted to think this is false, watch this part of the video. Did you see the dog pay attention? Did you realize it was equally confused as we are? Did you notice it didn't bark or do anything? Wonder why? The dog could probably feel a presence, one that disappeared and reappeared without it picking up anything on its nose. Nothing confuses a dog like being able to see something yet not being able to smell it. This for me removes all doubts that this hasn't been edited. There's something out there, and whoever sent this trail cam footage needs to be very, very careful. It's not safe. Take a look at this trail cam footage. At first glance, it looks like all is well. But look at the left side of the screen. Do you see these dots? Those tiny dots that look like nothing we should be concerned about. But when we zoom in, we realize that those dots are actually eyes that belong to a head. It's an oddly shaped head. There's no way it belongs to a human, and it does not match any known animal or creature on the planet. Taking a closer look at the head does give me some ideas. It's alien. Before you jump in and say aliens are not real, this footage clearly doesn't look edited, and this creature is certainly real. How do you explain that? Dinosaurs. Did they move to the center of the Earth, or are they living among us, or are they truly extinct? Imagine waking up in the morning and reviewing your security camera footage to see this. The footage may only be 4 seconds long, but it was long enough to live rent-free in the mind of Christina Ryan, the property owner who believed it had to be a dinosaur, specifically a raptor. However, if you know anything about dinosaurs, you know that this is hardly possible since accepted science and records show they have been extinct for millions of years. But what if the science is wrong? What if they do exist? What if they're living among us? I mean, the smaller ones could be hiding and we wouldn't know. Some experts believe it could really be a dinosaur, while one is convinced it's a dog that had escaped with its leash around its neck. Watch the footage again and tell me what you think you're seeing. I'll be reading the comments. When you walk into a forest and see animals fleeing from one particular direction, what do you think is the appropriate thing to do? Run away from that particular area just like the animals, or run toward it to find out what they're running from? I don't know about you, but I believe the most logical thing would be to run away from that direction. But no, this man thought otherwise. He noticed all the animals were running from one particular direction, and he picked up his camera and drove his car in that same direction. In a few minutes into his journey, he ran into something unusual. He noticed what looked like a tall heap of bushes moving. We all know bushes can't move, so that was perplexing. He decided to get closer to film, and what he saw made his blood run cold. It was no ordinary bush, it was alive and breathing. Before him stood an ape-like humanoid creature that was neither ape nor man. It growled at him, but thankfully it didn't attack. He had just run into a Sasquatch. It seemed to have little interest in him and made a lot of scary sounds. Some believed they're warning calls, but Sasquatch experts, and yes, there are such a thing, believed that those were mating calls. The Sasquatch was busy looking for a mate and couldn't be bothered by the man. Lucky him. Speaking of strange calls, what do you make of these sounds? Scary, right? What do you think is making the noise? Some thought it might be a bear and others assumed it was a wolf. But experts believe nothing that we know of could possibly sound like that. The sound is believed to be coming from a large creature, which gives it the range and tone it has. However, when you listen to the folk in this vicinity, you quickly start to have an idea of what might be going on. They report that in addition to these strange noises heard from the woods, there have been sightings of huge ape-like creatures in the vicinity. Most people who've seen these creatures have done so from a distance, and the creatures always seem like they're trying to make sure nobody is seeing them and quickly disappear into the woods when they feel they've been seen. Does this bring to mind anything or anyone at all? Bigfoot. If you thought of any other creature, it's worth noting that Bigfoot is the most commonly associated creature with these sightings and sounds. It's suspected that Bigfoot roams these woods. Have you ever wondered what it's like to see the world from a wolf's point of view, or have you ever wanted to see what a day in the life of a wolf looks like? Well, wonder no more. It's official, and it's here. Wolf camera collars are now available, and you can see how they look. This wolf might need a beard trim, but imagine what we can do with these cameras. Trail cams give us so much already. Just imagine what we could do with these camera collars. Do you remember what your first reaction was to seeing yourself in a mirror? I'm sure the majority of us don't, but some animals would. None of these animals seemed to realize that they were seeing their reflections and thought it was another animal. They launched themselves and tried to scare away their opponent. For some odd reason, this opponent fought back and was never scared. Naturally, this made the wild animals aggressive, but the more they got aggressive, the more their opponent did too. Having had enough, they tried attacking, and to their surprise, every time they walked past this odd structure, they couldn't find the opponent. It was almost as though he existed only in the glass. That's got to be scary. But they all eventually lost interest and walked away. However, not the chimps. They discovered that they were merely looking at their reflections and proceeded to have fun with it. Perhaps they're not too different from us after all. Imagine setting up your trail camera hoping to capture some interesting footage only to return to find it damaged. You're angry and hope to capture whoever did it on recorded footage. You search through the footage until you find the culprit, a playful bear cub messing around with your camera. What would you do? The owner of this camera found it cute and funny and ended up sharing it online. But how would you react? Would you have done the same or gone to the woods to give Mama Bear a lesson on parenting? Let us know in the comments section. This is a topic that I find particularly interesting. Continuing on the topic of destructive tendencies of bears, take a look at this adult bear. It's possible that it's related to the little bear we just saw or even fathered it. Out of curiosity, this big bear approached a trail camera set up near a beaver dam and conducted some scientific experiments to determine what it was dealing with. As a result of its curiosity, the trail cam fell from its original position. It's clear that bears need to be taught that trail cams are not toys, but the question is, who will teach them? Did you know fish is an active part of the diet of wolves? Have you ever wondered how they catch their fish since they've no fishing rods, bait, nets, or any other fancy tools we use when fishing? Well, it turns out wolves don't need any of these things. They're naturally equipped to catch fish in their own way, and this trail cam footage gives you a perfect depiction of how they go about it. Like fishermen, wolves need focus, but unlike fishermen and their tools, wolves rely on their jaws and laser-sharp focus to catch fish. Who knew? Still on wolves, enjoy this very short clip of wolf pups. Every majestic adult wolf you see was once this cute and adorable. but make no mistake, they can be quite dangerous when provoked. And if you ever see a wolf den with puppies like this, whatever you do, do not approach it. It would end up badly for you once either parents or members of the pack arrive. They don't joke with their babies. If you enjoyed the cuteness of the previous video, then you should be able to appreciate this. Yes, they're fighting. Yes, they're at each other's throats, but are they actually trying to hurt each other? No. Cubs often play in this manner, and it's a way to help them grow healthily and learn essential skills for the life of an upcoming predator. Hear those growls? Imagine what they would sound like coming from a fully grown and matured wolf. What would you do when a strange animal out of nowhere hits your car and runs off? Well, I for one would get out of there. But not these Mexicans. They chased after the creature, and I'm here wondering why. What did they intend to do with the creature once they caught it? Why would you think you can subdue it if it was strong enough to hit your car and run off? Well, perhaps they had a plan, but they still recorded their chase of the creature though. At first, I thought it was a dog when I saw the footage, more specifically a poodle, but there's no way a dog could rattle the bushes like this creature did in the video. And if a poodle did hit a car, there's no way it's running off because it would need a doctor. So what are we dealing with? No one knows. The family was never able to catch up to the creature because it disappeared into the bushes, but that leaves me with more questions than answers. What was the creature? Are people in the vicinity safe? I guess we'll have to wait a while longer to find out. Are there other creatures living among us that we don't know about? This footage suggests that there might be. A couple come across the carcass of an animal on a tree. They initially suspected that it might belong to a sloth or a bat, but probing further, they realized that it was not possible and that the body might belong to another animal. They then decided to bring the carcass down and investigate, but things take a strange turn from there. Suddenly, crows ate what was left of it until there was nothing left. As if crows don't have enough superstition about them already, why did they consume the carcass when the couple and park authorities decided to bring it down? Does this sound weird? Doesn't it make you feel like there's something paranormal happening here? I don't know about you, I'd be warily moving for it. Things are not at all what they seem to be. Have you ever heard of the legend of Dogman? In case you haven't, the Dogman is supposed to be something like a dog variant of a werewolf. The major difference between the two is the Dogman does not turn during the full moon and is perpetually stuck in its form. He usually has the head of a dog or sometimes that of a wolf with the body of a human. Ridiculous, right? Yeah, I thought so too until I saw this video. This man was a non-believer in the legend until he went to the woods and came back with this footage. He spent his whole life not believing in the ridiculous legend, only to meet this proof staring at him in the footage he'd recorded in an expedition he'd taken earlier. The Dogman was stalking him and he didn't even know it. Imagine it wanted to end him. It would have done so with little to no effort, but why did it only stalk him? Why didn't it hurt him or anything? Was it only interested in providing its existence, or was there something more sinister that never materialized? We'll never know. But what we do know is that the man became a believer right after this near encounter. He even publicly shared this. It takes a lot for someone who doesn't believe in a mystical creature to come out publicly and say he'd encountered it. But that leaves me wondering, if he really did encounter the Dogman, then I can't help but wonder how many of the creatures we have written off as mystical and fictional are actually not and are very real and living here with us. It makes me also wonder how many of them we pass by daily without realizing who or what they are, especially those that can shapeshift. These are thoughts and reflections I hope to have answers to someday, but until then, the Dogman is real and you should be very careful. Mystique from the X-Men was both mysterious and dangerous, possessing the power to shapeshift. Anyone with such a power would be incredibly dangerous, able to go anywhere and do anything without being detected. But what if this power was real? What if you encountered something with this power in the dark woods impersonating your missing friend? It takes horror and fear to a whole new level. That was the case for two friends who were searching for their missing friends in the woods. They heard this voice calling out to them and saw him in the distance. However, as they got closer, the figure changed shape and ran away. Perhaps it thought there was only one person to attack, but upon seeing to it was spooked and fled. Are shapeshifters among us? Have you ever encountered one? Do you know how to deal with them? Please share your experience in the comment section. The Yeti has always been considered Bigfoot's older cousin that lives in the snowy mountains. Some doubt he really exists, and many people believe they've encountered him and shared their stories. Some have even been fortunate to have footage on him in the trail cams. But have you ever heard of the Russian Yeti? Believe it or not, this is a more aggressive and dangerous version of the normal Yeti we're used to. If you look carefully at this footage, you can see an ape-like creature with dark fur. It's too large to be an ape, and its arms are too long to be one. But how can that be a Yeti when it has dark fur? Unlike the everyday Yeti that has white snowy fur, the Russian Yeti either has a reddish-brown or dark brown coat and lives in the Russian wilderness. Thankfully, not many have had encounters with it. Perhaps they did and were never found, because that's just how the Russian Yeti rolls. We have this footage to confirm its existence, but never go wandering the Russian wilderness alone. You might not come back alive, and whatever you do, should you see the Russian Yeti from afar, run. If it sees you before you see it, chances are you're already an obituary. Imagine going to the forest with your friends to enjoy some fireworks when you hear. Would you stay or would you leave? I know I would get out of there, which is what these friends tried to do. But whatever was making the noise was not prepared to let them leave. Like something out of a horror movie, it appeared out of nowhere and started attacking them. You can literally hear the fear in their voices.
Go! No! Run! What the hell?
They did make it out alive with minor injuries, but many don't think it's real. Imagine surviving something like that. Nobody believes you actually went through it. I, for one, do believe them. What about you? A couple of friends went out to go camping in the woods, hoping to have fun and chill out. If you know anything about the woods, you know that having a network reception can sometimes become a challenge. These guys knew they were far out, so had to be prepared for it. A member of their team, however, had to make a call. She left the group and they continued having fun. At first, they didn't notice she was gone for several minutes, but when they finally did, they panicked. They were in the middle of nowhere. She should not have been gone for that long. Concerned, they all moved as a group to find their friend, but they didn't find her on the phone as she had planned. She was lying in the grass, and they didn't know if she was alive or not. One of them rushed to her only to find her unconscious. She was alive. There was a unanimous sigh of relief, but that wouldn't last. From nowhere, they heard a loud shriek. One screamed, and they turned around to see a faceless creature with 6 arms pounding on their friend. What was this creature? No one knew. They tried to escape, but it fought them, trying to keep them there. By some stroke of luck, they all made it out alive, but scared for their lives. The creature, what it did and what it tried to do to them has left them traumatized, but at least they had their lives and they had the proof. They had the video, and the authorities would do something about it. That at least was what they thought. Not many believed them, and no one went back to verify the story. Do you believe them? If they're telling the truth and their story was never verified, then there's a human-hunting crab-like creature roaming the woods, seeking someone to devour. I don't know about you, but this is worrying. See you in our next video.